All right, welcome everyone. Great to have all of you joining us today. We're going to hang out for just a minute here to make sure that everyone can join and get settled in. We're going to be talking about all things business development today, so be sure to grab a drink and a snack so you don't miss a thing. So today I've got Derrick Kinney here with me. Derrick, let's just chit chat for a minute while folks get settled in. What's going on down there in Texas?
We were talking offline. Some people down here said they could see the northern lights last night. Now, I think you have to have a special camera to see all this. My little iPhone wasn't picking it up, but it's pretty cool to think we've got some northern influence hitting the south. I'm here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so we're not cold, but we're getting closer to that temperature, which is nice.
Yes. Well, here in Montana, it's been a big deal. I also, maybe it's my first day on planet Earth. I didn't realize that all these amazing photos were like coming from people's phones. I thought you just walked outside and it was like amazing. So
I thought the
news to
same thing. I'm
me.
like, nope, I don't see it up there.
I know, I'm like everyone's full online. This is all Photoshop, but it turns out it's just the phone. Now I'm on track. But yeah, it's very exciting these days with all these beautiful Northern Lights photos. Weather here in Montana has been great. It's going to be 67 today, which I mean, it could be like 3 feet of snow. So we're all just like so grateful right now that we've
Yeah.
got good weather.
See, by contrast, it's high of 80 today,
Okay, you could be
which is kind of
suntanning.
crazy. Well, I think Maddie was talking about you guys have four seasons there. We have one season. There's hot, hotter, hottest, and then less hot. Those are like the four seasons here in Dallas Fort Worth. So
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, perfect. Well, we're just past the hour, so I'm officially going to get us started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Amy Arno, and I am the Director of Business Development here at XYPN. Today, I'm excited to host this event from Overlooked to Overbooked, 5 steps to building a seven-figure advisory firm. And as I said, we have Derrick Kinney with us today. So for any questions that you have throughout the session, please use the Q&A module. You're going to see that at the bottom of Zoom. That's just going to help us keep track of our questions better, and we will be sure to address them all at the end. If I see anything really pressing, we'll stop and address it as we go. When the webinar is over, you will have an opportunity to fill out a survey. You'll see that pop up from Zoom. Please, please, please tell us how we did. We would love to get some feedback from you. Also, if you think of any topics that you want to hear from us in the future, please feel free to drop those in the survey as well. One great upcoming event that I want to highlight real quick is next month on December 10th, we are going to have the VP of Sapphire, Taylor Hain, on, and she is going to be talking about how to move to a fee-only corporate RIA. So we're going to drop the registration for that in the chat. It's called Planning Your Big Move in 2026, Transitioning from a BD to Fee-Only Corporate RIA. So you won't want to miss that. If that's in your future, she's really going to walk you through how to make that transition successfully and painlessly. Okay, I think that's it with the boring stuff. Let's get to the reason we're all here. Derrick, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and give us the goods on building a seven-figure business.
I love it, Amy. Thanks so much, and Maddie, thank you. If you don't know this, these ladies work tirelessly behind the scenes to make this go so well. So it's been a joy to work with both of you. And what you told me was a lot of people watching today are considering coming to XYPN. They might be at a broker dealer, they might be in a situation where they want to go independent. And so I think you have picked the perfect webinar for where you're at right now. Well, let me get right to it. We have a problem. The problem is that many of you may feel overlooked by the high net worth or even just the ideal clients that you most want to work with. And I want to help change that today. That was my problem because as a former advisor, when I would talk to prospects, I felt overlooked. I felt like they were talking about other advisors or they didn't take me seriously, and it was frustrating. Some of you may feel that same thing. So over the next about 45 to 50 minutes, I want to help solve that problem for all of you as well. Now, today, we're going to go down a completely different path than what you might be expecting, okay? So by a show of hands, and I don't see many of you here, it's kind of behind the scenes, I want you to say, would you commit to thinking differently for the next 45 minutes? How many of you would commit to doing that? Just thinking differently. Great. I am in the right place. Here's the point today. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you may have seen a post I did last week, and it was an advisor who actually called me and said, Derrick, I need you to know something. It was a crazy story. Just by reading one of my LinkedIn posts, he attracted his largest client ever, a $7 million account. And so here's why I tell you that. Today, I'm not here to tell you anything that is theory. And I'm not here to tell you anything that go try that and hope it works. As I tell all the top 1% advisors I consult and coach with around the country, I'm only going to share with you today what is actually working, helping them attract ideal clients and helping them make more money and grow their business. Now, also, at the end of this, there's going to be a download they're going to send to you called 10 conversation mistakes advisors make and how it costs them clients. Be sure and click on that, as it's a good takeaway from our time together. Well, one of the things that we find is advisors are struggling with client acquisition. And there's one thing in the world that everyone has in common. All of us are carrying behind us a roller bag of luggage. And when we're young, that roller bag feels light. It's packed with our goals and our hopes and our dreams. But as we get older, it gets weighted down and it feels heavy with our problems and our pain, our worries and our fears. And deep inside all of us is a longing for someone to lighten our luggage. Now, all of you on this Zoom today, you're either financial advisors or you support financial advisors, but what you really are, you are luggage lighteners. And going forward, I want you to have the mentality that as you're talking to a prospect, everyone, whatever their situation is, whatever their age is, they've got worries and concerns. And when you can tap into that, you then become instantly relatable to them as possibly the advisor they want to work with. So let's jump right in. Step number one, if you want to make it rain, connect with pain. If you want to make it rain, connect with pain. Now picture this. You're at a social event in your community. You've got your favorite beverage in your hand, and you begin to mingle around the room. And a man approaches you and asks, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And you reply, "Oh, I'm a financial advisor." He says, "Oh, okay." And you ask, "Oh, what do you do?" And he says, "I'm a personal trainer. I design workout and eating plans so people can get into shape." And you have a little bit more conversation, ask him a few more questions, and then you begin to mingle around the room. Well, later on in the evening, you meet a woman, and she approaches you and asks, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And you say, "I'm a financial advisor." She says, "Oh, okay." And you ask her, "What do you do?" And she says, "You know how busy business owners and professionals, they often put everybody else's needs above their own, so their health takes a back seat? We custom tailor workout and eating plans for busy people's schedules so they feel good, most importantly, that they look good, and one day they can be the cool grandparent that has the energy to chase their grandkids across the floor. We specialize in personal training for busy professionals and business owners." Pause. Let's say that 1 week goes by and you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, "I think I need a personal trainer." Just out of curiosity, and if you can show me this, by a show of hands, how many of you would call trainer number one the man you talk to? Okay. How many of you would call trainer number two the woman that you spoke with? Yeah. And the reason why most people say the woman is because she connected with a pain point that was relatable to you. Some people comment, "I want to be the cool grandparent. Yes, I'm busy. Yes, I put others' needs above myself." The point is, as a financial advisor, when you're in a social setting and someone asks you, "What do you do for a living?" if you reply, "I'm a financial advisor, I'm a wealth advisor, I'm a dream funder," whatever title you go with, you're forcing people to burn their brain cells to figure out what the heck you're talking about. Now, let's be real for a second. In the circle that we're in right here, all of us know what a financial advisor does. We know the time it took to get licensed and how hard it takes to work and serve clients and how much you care for people. But the average person, they have this mental checklist in their mind of what they believe a financial advisor does. And you might have seen this. You say financial advisor, people's eyes kind of glaze over. They start to lean backwards. They hold onto their wallet or they clutch their purse. They might mutter something under their breath of, "I've got all the insurance I need." And suddenly you're on defense. And so I believe that you work far too hard for that to happen to you. That stops today. So what I want to do, I want to say two phrases to you, and I want to see how you respond to each of these. Okay, here we go. First one. You know how it feels like when you take your car to the mechanic, it often feels like you're getting taken advantage of or overcharged? We can relate to that? Okay, all right. The second phrase I would tell you, picture this. Two moms are talking about their teenage daughters, okay? And one mom says to the other mom, you know how it feels like when you talk to your daughter, what you say goes in one ear and right out the other? And the other mom is probably going to say, yeah, I get that. The point of that is to model for you that when you tell someone something they know to be true, it draws them closer to you. You see, one of the biggest mistakes advisors make is they try to oversell themselves based on their credentials, their education, the features and benefits of the products and services they offer. And the reality is, most people don't care. There is simply one radio station that everybody loves, and it's WIIFM, which stands for What's in It for Me. And so this is out of my own pain and not wanting people to ask me what I did for a living. I had to come up with something to remedy that situation. And I call this my you know how statement. Okay. So, what a you know how statement is, instead of answering the question, I'm a financial advisor, I'm a wealth advisor, whatever that may be, is you state an instantly relatable problem that that person instantly understands. Okay. So, for example, let me give you my example when I was an advisor. We worked primarily with people close to retirement or already in retirement. And so when someone would ask, hey, Derrick, what do you do? I would say, you know how so many people worry about running out of money in retirement? As I slightly nod my head, we help fix that. Through our 5-step financial planning process, we custom tailor a strategy so they no longer have to worry about running out of money, but they can feel confident and have peace of mind. We specialize in retirement income planning, period. Now, at any point of that, did I say I was a financial advisor, a wealth advisor? No. But what I did is I said something that the person in my target market, the ideal client I wanted to work with, would say, yes, I worry about running out of money. And so it's instantly connected. For example, in one of our coaching groups right now, one of the advisors was struggling with, Derrick, how do I communicate? He wants to work with high earning tech professionals. And one of the things that we landed on was, what if they're on a Friday night, if they're with their spouse, their significant other on a Friday night on the patio of their house, they've got their favorite beverage in their hand and they're talking about their week and they're talking about if they could change one thing in their life, what would they say to each other? And that's what you want to tap into. So, for example, we landed on, you know how hardworking tech professionals, they make good money, but they wonder where it all goes? We help them fix that. You see, you want to say something that is so simple, but it's instantly relatable. And so to do that, I call that the you know how statement. And here's how to craft this, okay? Because we want to make this easily practical that you can apply instantly. So we want to do the 5 and 5 test. I want you to think about your 5 most recent clients and then your 5 favorite clients, okay? Now, your 5 recent clients, this does 2 things for you. First of all, it lets you evaluate of the 5 most recent people you brought on, are they the exact clients you want to work with? What we find is many advisors realize probably less than half of those people are even clients they even like. They've just been in the busyness of bringing people in, and this lets them pull back and say, that's really not who I want to bring on. Your 5 favorite clients, listen, these are the ones when you see their names, you smile. They love you, they respect you, they take every bit of advice, they pay you what you're worth, and you love to see them. So here's what I want you to do. Just after this time together on a sheet of paper, on the notes app on your phone, simply write down those 10 names, your 5 recent, 5 favorite clients, and then as best you can, identify what was the problem they came to you to help them solve. What was the problem they came to you to help them solve? And then second, what was the emotion they were feeling when they came to you? Were they concerned, worried, anxious, uncertain? And then second, what's the emotion they're likely feeling now that they have you in their life and you're helping them achieve their goals? Are they confident? Are they optimistic? Or do they have peace of mind? And all of those then get woven into your you know how statement. Okay. So the point is, we're no longer saying financial advisor. It's, you know how so many people worry about, and then insert the problem that your ideal client likely has. Again, if you say financial advisor, typically the door closes. When you say you know how, it opens, and it often gets people to say, tell me more. Now, one thing I will tell you, there is a lie that so many advisors believe, and that is the holidays are the worst time to pick up clients. No advisor ever grows their business during the holidays. Everybody's taking time off. They're not in the mindset. That is simply not true. The advisors I coach and consult with, what we find is Q4, shockingly, is often their busiest time to attract clients. And here's why. Think about this. The holidays are the most social time you'll probably be all year, minus if you have kids in school in the summertime. There's unplanned Thanksgiving events, Christmas events, New Year's events, and often the default question you get asked is, hey, what do you do for a living? And so what I tell you is, let me give you the express drive-through version of how to maximize that. Instead of saying all 3 steps of the you know how statement, just simply say, you know how, and then insert a worry that you know your target market likely has, and then say, we help fix that. That's enough to put a hook in someone for them to say, well, tell me more, okay? Now, if you don't want to get asked, what do you do for a living? What I encourage people to do is, I like to say, when you own a problem, you own your success. Own a problem and you own your success. So weave in the conversation, and I would make it a goal of every conversation you're in, say something like this. This is going to sound crazy, but a lot of people I'm visiting with right now, one of the biggest concerns they share with me is insert your relatable problem. It automatically jumpstarts a conversation because it piques people's curiosity. So when you get asked, what do you do? Or in any conversation, just simply weave in, you're not going to believe this. This is going to sound crazy, but one of the biggest concerns people share with me is insert that. Okay. Now, I will tell you, I did a private workshop. This was about a year ago. And one of the advisors was very, very upset. And the reason why is, he said, Derrick, I keep getting overlooked by these higher net worth clients and ideal clients he wanted to work with. So on the break, really out of desperation, he said, help me craft my you know how statement so I can have something to work with. We worked it up. It was a rough draft. Well, the owner of the firm called me a week later, and here's what he said. I think you'll find this interesting. He said he was in a conversation with his neighbor and just brought in the exact scripting that I had taught him. And here's what his neighbor said to the advisor. His neighbor said, I thought you were just a financial advisor. I didn't know the problems you solved for people like me. We've not been happy with our advisor for years. Would you be willing to take us on as a client? That became his next $5 million account. If you want to make it rain, connect with pain. And remember that memorable people make the most money. All right. Step 2, stir the problem, don't solve the problem. Stir the problem, don't solve the problem. I had just stepped off stage speaking to a big group of advisors, and a line of people formed who wanted to visit with me. And one woman was mad. She pointed her finger at me. She said, Derrick, I can't believe this. If you had told me what you just said on stage 10 years ago, I could have quadrupled the size of my business. Here's why she was angry. She realized she was solving the problems of the prospect in the initial visit. And by the way, you might notice that I use the word visit and not meeting. A meeting you have with your proctologist, it can feel cold and isolating, but a visit is with people you care about. A visit invites warmth and people you want to chat with. When you work with people, remember, words equal wealth. The right words spoken at the right time, said to the right person about the right painful problem, leads to great profits. So I like to say visit. It's non-threatening, it's inviting. So what she discovered was she was having productive visits with these initial prospects. They were happy, they shook her hand, they said, thank you for all the advice you gave me, and then they ghosted her. And she couldn't figure out why, and she was continually frustrated. Here's what I told her. Stir the problem, don't solve the problem. Now listen, all of you on this Zoom right now, truly, when you step into a room, most of you are the smartest person in the room. You could design a financial plan for people, probably get it 80% there just in an initial visit because you've seen a lot, you have a lot of experience. Here's what I tell you though. The moment a solution to a problem comes to your lips and it's about to jump out of your mouth, instead say, is that something you'd like my help with? Is that something you'd like my help with? And then let them see you doing the listening hustle of writing notes. Even if you have an AI listening device, you want them to see you typing out, would like my help knowing how much is enough money for retirement, or have them see you handwriting on a sheet of paper. Because when people see you writing down or typing what they say, it makes them feel valued, important, and that you are listening. Plus, it's a way for you to reference the pain points to remind them of why they want to work with you. All right, so the only problem that people need solved in that initial visit is in their minds, do you have the ability to solve their problem? So it may sound like, well, Derrick, I'm wondering, should I go with a Roth IRA, traditional IRA? What retirement plan should I set up for my business? You know what? All of those are great questions. And with all the clients we work with, one of the things our business owners, if you're working with business owners, often tell us is the financial planning process we go through helps them clarify exactly which one is for them because it's custom tailored. Is that something you'd like my help with? Yes. So you're responding in a way that shows you work with other people like them, but you're not solving their exact problem. You want to stir concern. Now, I say this jokingly, but in my former life as an advisor, I was one of the top fee-based advisors at our firm. And I had a personal belief. You may laugh at this, but it goes like this. No fee, no me. No fee, no me. I was shocked by just how brilliant an advisor I became with an ability to answer all their questions and solve their problems the moment they signed the new client paperwork. The moment they paid their fee, I became a brilliant problem-solving advisor. Here's what I would tell you. If you solve too many problems too early, they don't have the urgency to work with you and you're robbing them. They see their problems now as all the problems they have, but you know there's a lifetime of decisions and problems ahead of them for them and other family members. You're robbing them of getting to work with someone like you. All right, so I call these the $1 million questions. Okay, so $1 million question one, is that something you'd like my help with? $1 million question number two is, you want to ask a personal question. Now, how many of you watching like to play board games? Okay, how many of you like to play pickleball? A lot of people. What I find is whether it's a board game or pickleball, to increase the chances of your success, you need to know the rules of the game, okay? And number one rule of the game with a prospect is how fast can you build rapport and relationship? You want to deepen trust and have that person say, this person gets me. This person understands me fast. And the best way to do this, and I've tested this in my own practice and with other top 1% advisors right now, ask at least 2 personal questions in every initial visit. Now, let me share with you my 2 favorites, and you can custom tailor these for you. Number 1, what would you say is the biggest financial mistake you've ever made? What would you say is the biggest financial mistake you've ever made? And number 2, of all the financial decisions you've made, what is one you are most proud of? Of all the financial decisions you've ever made, what is one you are most proud of? Now, I think we'd agree those are pretty decent personal questions, right? But they're not good enough. Okay, so I want you to walk with me. We're going to walk over from the shallow end of the question asking pool. We're going to walk over to the deep end. We're going to crawl, climb up the high dive ladder, walk out onto the high dive, and we're going to dive into the deep water. And the way that you make a personal question stand out, and please make a note of this, add pre-meaning to a personal question. Add pre-meaning to a personal question. Here's what that sounds like. For example, Amy, do you mind if I ask you a personal question? And by the way, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. What would you say is the biggest financial mistake you've ever made? Okay, pause. You see the difference there? I could just ask, what is the biggest mistake you've ever made? But it sounds like every other question, a little bit deeper, but it sounds like the other questions I was asking. You want to define like a billboard behind your head that says, incoming personal question, I want vulnerability from you. Now, you might be asking, Derrick, that makes me feel uncomfortable. What if I ask that and the prospect says, well, I'm not comfortable asking or answering rather a personal question? Here's what you want to say. Completely understand. Here's why I ask you a personal question. Of all the people that we meet with and visit with, the ones we choose to take on, this is not just helping you manage your money. It's building a relationship to help you achieve the life that you want. And we want to make sure by asking these personal questions that we help you not recreate some other decisions you made in the past. We want this to be a fresh start for you. Does that make sense? And then typically they say yes. Now keep in mind the language I used. Of all the people that we visit with, the clients we choose to take on, see, that language says you don't work with everybody. You're selective on who you choose to bring in to your firm. You see, when people realize, oh, you don't work with everybody, suddenly it makes them want to work with you more because you're an exclusive advisor to work with. I hope that makes sense. All right. Now, question 3, and this is, by the way, toward the ending of the visit itself, you want to ask this question. 12 months from now, what needs to happen for you to say, I'm sure glad I chose to work with Derrick and his team? Insert your name. 12 months from now, what needs to happen for you to say, I'm sure glad I decided to work with Derrick and his team? Now, the purpose of that question is, and you just want to zip your lip and let them tell you in their words what that looks like. They're giving you a roadmap to a successful relationship with them. Okay. Now, one thing I want to point out, what we know is higher net worth prospects, people with money, people who feel like they're on track and doing well, they have a desire for less yes people in their lives. They want more people who have the courage to tell them no. Let me give you a practical example of that. One of our coaching clients recently had an experience where he asked this question, the 12 months from now, $1 million question, and the prospect said, I want you to double my money. This was a classic do-it-yourselfer. And so I coached the advisor, just listen, ask more questions. And then what the advisor said to the prospect was, listen, if your desire is simply to double your money, we are not the right advisor for you. And the prospect looked puzzled. And he said, everybody else has told me they could. And he said, we're not everybody else. We are a voice of reason for our clients. We're here to tell you the truth. I could tell you we could double it, but it's not going to happen. You'll be frustrated and it won't add value to your life. If that's what you want, we are not the right advisor for you. If you want a custom tailored plan based on your unique goals and dreams and someone to walk alongside you and be a truth teller, then we're the firm for you. That prospect said, I want to work with you because no one else was willing to tell me the truth. Make sense? Sometimes there's that moment where you feel like you've got to oversell yourself, and sometimes having the confidence to be who you are and state who you are, which often may mean pushing the person away, often attracts them to you because they're like, you're not like the other advisors. Finally, someone willing to stand up and tell me the truth. Okay. All right. Question for you. I don't have the props here, but I want you, when I was on stage, I was at the FPA event recently, and I held on stage a Hershey bar and some Godiva chocolate. Okay, so picture Hershey bar here, Godiva chocolate here. And I asked the audience, and I'm going to ask all of you this question. If you were going to buy a gift for the chocolate lover in your life, which purchase would make them feel like you spent more time and appreciated them more? The Hershey bar or the Godiva chocolate? Most people would say Godiva chocolate. Now, even the same weight and the same amount, Hershey costs about $5 a bar. Godiva is almost $20. It's almost 4 times as much. So why would Godiva cost 4 times as much as Hershey's? Well, it came down to 2 things, perception and packaging. I want to ask each of you on this Zoom right now a personal question. And you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. In your local community, do your clients and your prospects see you as the Hershey bar or the Godiva chocolate? Are you like every other advisor, or do you provide a superior, custom-tailored experience that makes them want to pay more for? I firmly believe you deserve to be paid what you're worth. Think about this. There's no other professional I can think of, attorney, CPA, minister, whoever the influential people are in their lives, that will spend so much time as you will, because you carry those clients with you 24/7 in your head. When you're out there playing pickleball, you're out there with family, oftentimes the client's name comes to mind because you're always thinking about them. And you deserve to be paid what you're worth because of the value that you provide to them. So the way that you change from Hershey to Godiva is you choose to specialize. Okay, let me ask you this. If you needed to have a delicate medical procedure done, let's say it was your heart, would your first inclination be, I want to go see the general practitioner who knows a little bit about a lot? Or would you say, I'm going to go to the heart specialist that all they do is work on hearts 24/7? Most people would say, I'm going to the heart specialist. But let's ask ourselves, what would be 3 things that you would think about prior to going to the specialist? Let's say today is Thursday at 4 o'clock. Would you expect to get in to see the specialist first thing Friday morning? No, you'd have to wait. Second of all, based on your insurance, this can vary. Would you expect to pay more or less to see the specialist? You typically expect to pay more. And then third, would you go into that visit expecting to listen to every word the specialist said? Or would you think, I'm a do-it-yourselfer, I'm probably going to do the surgery myself, I'm not even going to listen to what they say? No, you would go in expecting to follow the advice of the specialist. You see, just by naming yourself as a specialist, it elevates your status and respect with prospects and clients. And so you may say, Derrick, what do I specialize in? Well, think about that you-know-how statement. You know how so many people worry about whatever that painful problem is for you, then you want to, like mine was, we specialize in retirement income planning. And maybe we specialize in simplifying high income earners, complex situations. Whatever that may be, just something that's instantly relatable with the least amount of words possible. But specialists make more money and attract higher quality clients. All right, step 3, go from slow to grow. I was in a team meeting, true story. This was years before I decided to sell my business, and I wanted to go and grow, but I felt my team was hesitant and slow. And so I stood up and I walked over to the center of the conference room and I did something very unexpected. I laid completely down on the ground, my back to the floor, and I said, I have just had a medical emergency and I can't see clients for the next 3 months. What are we going to do? It seemed like I was laying there for 20 minutes before anybody said anything. One person said, should we try to resuscitate him? Should we help him? And then a voice said, if Derrick can't see clients, we need to figure out how to handle this and who can see them. Let's figure this out. Then I quietly stood up, walked over, and sat back down. And that was the moment that we went from the me show to the we show. You see, the me show gets canceled after a couple seasons, but the we show lasts for many, many years. That was the moment that it empowered my team. They took ownership. And what we discovered is the very guy, me, who wanted to go and grow, was the very guy causing us to be slow because I was the bottleneck. Everything had to go through me. I had to approve everything. Nothing was good enough unless I came up with it. Any of you relate to that? What I realized was every system needed to be Derrick optional. I needed to have systems and structures where it wasn't me required to do it. I could have someone else step in. Not only did it increase the value before I sold it, but it let us scale to different cities here in Texas to grow. Now, one of the things I will tell you, I want to tell you two things here. I was at a private workshop about a year ago, and they asked me, who do you want to be in the room, Derrick? And I said, well, I want all the advisors to be there, but I also want their staff to be there. And they were like, why? I said, well, you'll see when I get there. And so as we're in the room, there's about 50 people in the room, about 2/3 advisors, a third staff. I asked to the staff, how many of you ever get asked, what do you do for a living? All their hands went up. And I said, really? And I said, well, when you do get asked that question, and this was the assistants, the marketing people, the compliance people, the support staff, I said, what do you say? And they said, oh, I say, I'm the marketing person for so-and-so at this firm. And I said, how do people respond when you say that? And then she said, well, their eyes kind of glaze over. They walk backwards. Anyway, joking about that. She said it goes nowhere. That they simply look at me and there's no conversation. So what we did is we came up with an idea. And I said, let's come up with a problem, a you-know-how statement for the staff. And that way, when they get asked, what do you do for a living? They could talk about, you know how so many people worry about insert the problem? Our team helped fix that. So here's what happened. True story. I get a call about 2 weeks later from the owner of the firm that brought me in. And he said, Derrick, you remember the one woman that you were speaking with about, she was the marketing person. She had a birthday party that Saturday with friends. And she recalled telling the owner of the firm, she was kind of nervous, but she simply used the scripting that I had given her that we had practiced with the team. And the person she met said, that's exactly what we want help with. We've not been happy with our advisor. And so the marketing person said, hey, you would love working with our team. Why don't we schedule a visit? Let me get your number. She actually gave her advisor a $3 million lead that became a client the following week. Here's why I tell you that. So many advisors, if we're being honest, you carry the weight of your business on your shoulders every day. There's no one other than you who can grow it. And if we're being more honest, you might be thinking, can't anybody else attract clients besides me? Do I have to do it all? But when you think about your team as a sales force to help you attract the clients you want, I believe, and it's proven to be true now because I wouldn't tell you something that we're not proven to be working right now. When a team member talks to a prospect about you, it has even more authenticity coming from them than from you. Because they look at the staff member as they've got this inside track on how the advisor really is. And when they're coached about what to say, opportunity comes your way. Very, very powerful. Also, this may apply to some of you listening. I got a call from an advisor. This was just recently, about a month ago. And he had just hired a 24-year-old new advisor. And the goal was to help attract some higher net worth clients and more ideal clients. But she was struggling. The advisor was frustrated and she was very frustrated. And the advisor said, Derrick, I need your help. So I asked, could I call this advisor and have a couple coaching sessions with her? And I asked, tell me what's going on when you talk to a prospect. She said, Derrick, this is going to sound crazy, but when they ask me what I do, I say I'm a financial advisor. I'm working on my CFP. We help clients do this. But as I'm saying that, it feels like the prospect in their mind are thinking, are you even old enough to drive? This was just straight up what she was telling me. And I said, okay, very, very common. So we practiced some scripting about what to say. And so a week later, she calls me back and tells me what happened. So she was going to a higher net worth business owner event. This is what this particular firm specialized in. And we had practiced some dialogue. And so here's what she said. A prospect approached her and said, hey, what do you do? And she said, well, you know how so many successful business owners and founders, what keeps them awake at night is the thought that all they've worked so hard for is going to go to their lazy kids and grandkids who won't know what to do with it. We help fix that. And she said the prospect's eyes got as big as saucers, like, yes. She said, well, what I do is we specialize in, I help the kids get prepared to take on the money that you're going to leave them in an inheritance so they can get ready to take over the business. And also, I'm probably the youngest at the firm, and they brought me in because I know technology better than anybody else here. You would love working with our advisors. That person became a client just a few weeks later. Here's what we discovered. Sometimes when you're younger, you often tend to oversell. I am a CFP. I'm a fiduciary. I have access to this and that. And the reality is, and you can't change this for the most part, the person you're talking to is thinking one way, and whatever you say, you can't change that. So instead, we want to take what you feel like mentally as a liability and flip it to an asset. And here's what we learned. The advisor who hired her thought her role was to attract directly these higher net worth prospects. What it really was, we discovered this as we worked together, was to connect with their desire to have their kids be financially literate and be able to take on what they work so hard to build. Suddenly, she was the most sought after person in their firm because she could relate to the kids of these higher net worth prospects that brought them in. Does that make sense? So what I would tell you right now is you might be feeling like you're hitting your head against a ceiling. I'm banging my head, I'm getting the same result. I feel overlooked. When you can craft your messaging and you're just honest. And I even taught her to say, this is going to sound crazy, but often when I talk to people, it feels like they're thinking, how old are you, like 21? And then it gets the prospect to laugh. So when you say verbally, what do you think someone is thinking? It diffuses the situation and makes it a non-issue. Okay, all right. Going to move on here. Step 4, as we kind of begin to wind things down. Now, step 4, communicate like you cook a brisket, low and slow. Now, I live here in Texas, and in Texas, we love our barbecue. And my favorite is brisket. Do we have any brisket and chocolate lovers out there? I wouldn't eat them together necessarily, but yes, they're very, very good. So when you think about brisket, it's cooked low and slow. Now picture this. This might have happened to you or someone you've seen it happen to. You get called on by surprise. You're not expecting someone to ask you a question. And what happens? Your voice goes higher and you talk faster because you're nervous and you're not expecting what that person was asking you. And in that moment, you look less credible, less trusted, and you look nervous. So instead, what I tell people is when you feel the heart begin to race and you feel like you're caught by surprise, take a breath and go brisket. Talk a little bit lower and a little bit slower, and you automatically sound more thoughtful and engaging and empathetic. Here are 2 practical ways to put this into place. Number 1, when you're asked the question, what do you do for a living? What I will often do is I'll either put my finger to my mouth or I'll kind of lean in and I pause for a moment as if to give this thoughtful glance and say, you know how so many advisors feel overlooked by the prospects they most want to work with? We help fix that. Really, what do you do? And so when you talk a little bit lower and a little bit slower, it automatically draws them in. You're no longer just a financial advisor. You're like the doctor giving them the prescription for their financial pain. The other time this works really well, I think you'll relate to this. Think about toward the end of the funnel and working with a new prospect. And now it's time to talk about here's how we get paid and how we work with our clients. I see this all the time. Most advisors, if they're face-to-face or on the Zoom, they lean in, their voice gets more tense, they talk faster, their voice goes higher, and it's like a billboard behind them that says, I'm about to sell you something, beware. Instead, I want that part of your visit to be where you're the most relaxed. I like to say face-to-face wins the race and voice-to-voice is the best choice. So when you're face-to-face with the prospect, I want you to lean back. When you're on the Zoom, I want you to physically take a step back so they see you're relaxed. Open gestures. Let them see your entire torso and say something like this. Now I want to share with you how we work with our clients and how we get paid. And it's very, very important to say the words, how we get paid, because people are wondering it. And what I've taught you, you want to say what people are thinking, then it diffuses it, okay? So you want the fee discussion to be the most relaxed discussion you have. Now, what I'm going to tell you may sound very counterintuitive, but I would always give a fee range. Now, everybody, their fees are set up differently. It may be a percentage, maybe hourly, however you do that. But what I would often say is when I would state the fee is I would then say, now let me pause for a second and let's have an open discussion. How do you feel about that fee? Does that sound high, low, about what you expected? And the point is you want to engage them in open conversation. You don't want them to leave that room or leave that Zoom without you clearly knowing, do they understand the fee and are they comfortable with it? So many people, what causes them to wonder what happened to the prospect is they didn't give the prospect the opportunity to push back. And here's what I believe. The most control you have in life is when you give other people the chance to have full control. Most prospects are not used to being asked, how do you feel about the fee? And by the way, I didn't ask how you think about it. How do you feel about that? It's how I attracted, and we teach our top 1% advisors, they're attracting more and more clients with that exact language. All right, last step here, and then we're going to have some time for questions. Many people struggle with referrals, okay? And there's an experiment that we did earlier this year. We tested it with about 10 advisors, and now we've rolled it out to all of our coaching clients. Most people, when do you ask for referrals? At the end of the visit. You're tired, they're tired. You think to yourself, I got to ask for referrals because somebody's going to ask me, and I've got to at least say that I asked, and it leads nowhere. Here's what I find. If you can write out a written meeting agenda and ask for referrals in the middle of the visit and say something like this. Hey, Maddie, I want to go down a completely different path with you for a second. And actually, I want to go down memory lane, if you don't mind. I want you to think back for a second. When you first became my client, do you remember the problem that you were struggling with? Do you remember why you came to work with me and how you felt? Pause for a second. Here's the reality. Most of your clients right now have forgotten how they felt or what the problem was they had prior to you. You see, you've changed their lives. This is reminding them of who they were pre-you. And it gets them in the mindset of, oh my gosh, look at the value that you as the advisor have added to my life. And then say, would you be willing to refer me to people who were once in your same situation? And the key that's important there is to say, would you be willing? It's getting buy-in. It's offering them the chance to say no. But when they say yes, it's a deeper conviction. Yes, that was who I once was. And now with you, I'm here. I want to help other people who are once like me get to where I am now. Does that make sense? So it's all about the timing of when you ask for referrals. All right. One more piece here. Scheduled spontaneity. Good news, often when people hear this session, they're motivated, they've given the practical skills to go pick up their next ideal client. Here's the problem though. Your newest client is now competitor's newest prospect. And so we have to moat the clients that you have. And here's how to do that. I call this scheduled spontaneity, okay? So, and you can do this, start off with just your top 5 clients. Make it simple. And on your calendar, you want to write down just a quick 5-minute touch base with your top 5 clients. It's scheduled for you, but it's spontaneous for them, okay? Here's what we find. When I was an advisor, we would see clients 4 times a year. That was like premium level service. I would call my top people once a month. Now what we find is with TikTok, the internet, ChatGPT, all the social media sources, if most clients, especially your higher net worth ones, don't hear from you at least once a month, they begin to wonder what you're doing. They still get the Friday mail outs about free dinner seminars. They hear other advisors talking. And so you want in their mind to think, I just spoke to you. This is how to do that. Take your top, ideally you want to take your top percentage of clients, but just start with 5. And the messaging sounds like this. Michelle, hey, this is Derrick with so-and-so. Just wanted you to know we were watching your account, keeping a close eye on things. You know, the change we made on our last visit together, I like it. And even though we've had a lot of market volatility, I think it's been a good move. We're going to keep a close eye on things. As always, we appreciate having you as our client. Have a great day. Click. Ideally, it's a voice message, okay? But the point is it buys you brain time of 30 days where they think, I just spoke to my advisor. Why would I ever leave? Because they're always thinking about me. All right, last step, step 5, how to have more money and meaning in your life. When I was 26, I became an advisor, but I had a big problem. I looked like I was 13. No contacts, no great experience, no country club membership, but I had this passion to invest in local education and support young people. And I took a $50 Amazon gift card for the teacher and a $25 Amazon gift card for the student, and I began to present a teacher and student of the month at my local high school. And we began to put that in the newspaper back in the day, cutting edge technology back then. And what happened was a big surprise. A few months later, I began to get phone calls. And what one woman said to me shocked me, changed how I thought about my business. She said, Derrick, we want to have you as our advisor. We know you're young, we know you're new, but we want to work with you because you care about what we care about. You care about what we care about. And the moment she said that, it was like this weight lifted off my shoulders. It meant I didn't have to be the smartest or the best looking or the most well connected. I just had to care about what my ideal clients cared about. I then began to sponsor all the local high schools in my area. And what I found was, this is going to sound crazy, but if you want to attract ideal clients, simply do these two things. Number one, own a problem and you own your success. And number two, have a local cause that you care about. As I would have the schools post on social media, they would take a picture of me and the teacher and the student and the principal, thank Derrick Kinney for his grateful sponsorship of our school. I began to attract $1 million clients. And what I found is higher net worth clients like the status of working with professionals who are involved in their community. It gives them the feeling like they're part of something bigger. Now, for you, it might be you could sponsor a business owner of the month in your local community, entrepreneur of the month, first responder of the month, nonprofit leader of the month, female business owner of the month, whatever it may be. That's a way for you to get entrenched in the community. Very simple, $75 a month, very easy. But you open the door to your prospects being part of something bigger. Listen, as I close now, 5 steps to go from overlooked to overbooked. What I would tell you is this: you are the medicine for America's financial pain. Remember that everyone is carrying behind them a roller bag of luggage packed with their problems and their pain and their worries and their fears. And they want someone like you to lighten their luggage. Go be the luggage lightener. Amy, Maddie, thanks for having me today. Let's do some Q&A.
Let's do some Q&A. Derrick, do you have your presentation? Do you want to share that first slide? Maddie or I can do it too, with your QR code to download your free guide.
Yeah, if you've got that, we can share that. That'd be great.
Yeah, let me work on that here.
It's on the very first slide and then the last slide. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I will do that. And then, yeah, questions. Okay, we've got one. Oh, we just have someone who's a latecomer and he's wanting to know about the replay. And Paul, I can tell you that we are going to send out a follow-up email to all registrants that includes the recording and also your 10 questions, right, Derrick, or a PDF too that we'll have as well. So don't worry, you won't miss that. Okay, so much great information. So
Thank you.
Derrick, my question for you, you know that XYPN, we love to beat the niche drum really hard. So what advice do you have for folks as they're trying to create a niche? Because that plays so much into pain points, right? And into
right.
these like creating your questions. And so tell us about how you created your niche. I know it's high net worth individuals, but what's your advice for folks as they're thinking about that when they're launching their practice?
2 ways to look at this. First of all, if there is a group of clients you find you like to work with, then do that 5 and 5 exercise and ask, okay, of the past 5, my 5 favorite, what are the unique problems I'm solving for those people? Okay. Often though, Amy, this is a great question. Some advisors I coach say, Derrick, I don't really like the people I'm working with now. I want to work with this group. So then we want to do some study on what are the concerns that those people have. And so ultimately, I think about niche in a completely different way. Some people might say, hey, I specialize in working with dentists or doctors or veterinarians or high net worth people. But ultimately, that's a category and not a problem. Ultimately, and we see this in research, people often spend more money on painkillers than they do on vitamins. And so when you can state a painful point that your niche has, for example, we specialize in helping dentists who run a great business, but have no idea how to handle their personal finances. We help them fix that. You see, when you can state the person you work with and the relatable problem, they instantly are like, yes, that is my problem. Now you're at the door and you want them knocking as opposed to you getting a door closed in your face.
Absolutely. I love that. And so, let's see. So, and I guess just from my experience with your point about like when you're asking people to refer folks to you. I think it's really important that when you're thinking about the niche too, that like you shouldn't have 100 people to refer, right? It should be just a couple. So if you're thinking about your niche and building that out and referring folks, like if you say my niche is women, like that to me is like, okay, well, I know so many women.
Right,
If
right.
you say women in tech, like, okay, that gets me a little bit closer. But it's still half my company is women. We're all in tech. Like that's still too many. But if you say women in tech with young children and student loan debt, like great. I have like two people that I know would be a good fit for you. So I'm like you can, I don't know that you can really dial it in too far. You know, if you're not getting the right number of clients, then maybe open it up a little bit more. But folks should just know a couple of people that are a really good fit for you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, Amy, and let me you hit on something that'd be good to take a shovel and dig a little bit on because
Do it.
what often advisors believe is I need to have a wide funnel to attract more people. And what happens is when you're appealing to everyone, you're attracting no one. And so as uncomfortable as this gets, you want to be so narrow. We specialize in hard working women who want to juggle it all, but want simplicity in their lives. Period.
Yep.
Well, then suddenly what happens is there's this psychological component that's at play that says, yes, number one, I relate to that. It may not even be me, but it causes people to say, wow, you specialize in something so specific. Can I opt in to working with you? Even if they don't have that same concern, it causes them to say, wow, you're a specialist. So the whole point is pick something that you specialize in and go deep on it. And even I talk about if you're going to go on LinkedIn, those become your content pillars about the pain points you talk about. Like when I'm on LinkedIn, I post 5 days a week. People say, Derrick, it feels like you're talking right to me. It's because as a former advisor, I know the pain points of advisors that are hungry to grow right now. So I speak to their pain that's instantly relatable. So the point is, don't think that I've got this designation or I've got to get more education. If you want to work with the clients you want to work with, just simply know how to better articulate the problems that those ideal clients have. Become a student of the problem, not even necessarily the person and what you think they want.
Absolutely. I love that. Maddie, will you look for me? I'm stuck where I can't see questions right now while I'm screen sharing, which is a little embarrassing, but I don't want to miss any questions. Maddie, do we have any more questions that we need to answer?
Yes, we actually have a few.
Help me, please. Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely. So our next question is, what are your thoughts regarding housing an RIA from an office versus a very nice home office?
Either way is great. What I would tell you is you want to make sure that you use your words to position as an advantage whatever you've chosen to do. Okay. So if you make excuses for your home as the place you visit with clients, they're going to see you as less than. But if you use your words and say, I actually chose to have my home where I meet clients because my home is one of the most precious things I have, and each of my clients are one of the most precious relationships I have. That's why I chose to meet with you in my home. You see, you always want to do everything you're doing as an advantage, even if you do all Zooms, for example, which I'm not a big advocate of. I like the face to face, then position it as we specialize in helping busy people achieve success faster. So we do all of our visits by Zooms. So whatever you choose to do, position it as an advantage because people only know what you tell them what they need to know. And I want to make sure you're positioning yourself well. If you have people at your house, it can be a great advantage, almost a superpower for you that people actually get to come to your home. And not every advisor does that for their clients.
Wonderful. Okay.
I'm
Let's see.
back, Maddie. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was just telling her I should be in IT, but no, I shouldn't. Well, we do have
I
a few more
definitely shouldn't.
questions.
Yeah,
We have a few more questions, but we're almost to the end of our time. So I want to be respectful for you, Derek. So why don't you tell folks where they can find you so we
sure.
can follow up with some of these other items. Where can folks reach out to you? Do you have a podcast? Do you have a website, LinkedIn? Where should we find you?
Yeah, the best place people get the most value from my LinkedIn content. It's money making, client attracting content. Just go to Derrick Kinney on LinkedIn. Also, hit that QR code for the free download. Our website is at successforadvisors.com. And just one thing I will tell you as I talk about that how statement, when you do something different, you're going to feel uncomfortable doing it. But just realize most people who are successful, they have to go through the discomfort to get them to their next level of success. Know that uncomfortability is just part of the journey to being the advisor you truly want to be.
I love that. Derek, this has been amazing. So much great feedback already. Thank you for your time today. I hope everyone will come check you out and learn even more. And everyone, have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for your time. Thank you.